There are things we don't want to admit about dinosaurs, that they were ugly, weird, and quite possibly smelled bad. But maybe one of the most shocking realities about these ancient creatures is that they were kind of defenseless when they were born. Kind of. The image of the T-Rex has been seared into our brains since childhood, a fierce predator feared by all, including by us. We may be able to scratch the surface of the ferocity of this magnificent animal. However, new discoveries show that baby tyrannosaurs were not little ferocious monsters, but rather cute babies who couldn't even walk well. At least according to researcher Dr. Dave Hone from the Queen Mary University of London. This carnivorous dinosaur was more afraid than scary. When he saw a human, he would run away. But how did scientists find out so much about this species? It's thanks to the fossil record, in particular, one very important specimen found in Canada. This is the skull of a baby Tyrannosaurus. The thing is that it shows an underdeveloped jaw and teeth. Not only that, but the bones of his head were disproportionately large compared to his mouth. The results of the study suggest that babies were born with 10 baby teeth and a full set of 60 baby teeth. So what does that mean? First, this means that their diet consisted only of milk because they didn't have teeth. Second, it means that at birth, their jaws were weak and underdeveloped. Third, Tyrannosaurus needed thousands of years to grow a complete set of teeth. It's like babies today being born without jaws. Well, maybe not that extreme, but you get the point. But there's something else that caught scientists' attention, a hole located at the back of the skull. This is the opening where baby dinosaurs could breathe while still in the egg. It's called the parietal foramen. These holes are also present in modern birds, and in some species the hole remains throughout their lives. For example, ostriches and emus. But here's the catch. The size of this hole decreases over time. In other words, it's not always so easy to determine whether a fossil belonged to an adult or juvenile individual. This is due to the fact that the parietal foramen closes as the bird grows up. Scientists use this method to learn about the growth of dinosaurs. To do this, they studied the thickness of the cranial bones of various specimens. Thinner bones indicate that the individual was young. The older the dinosaur, the thicker its bones. As for the Tyrannosaurus, the results showed that the predator grew rapidly, especially the first year of life. In just a few months, the baby turned from a helpless newborn into a real monster. It grew up so fast that it got stronger faster than its skeleton could develop. This led to serious problems with its posture, which is confirmed by the curvature of the neck and spine found in fossils. Also, judging by the structure of the skull, baby Tyrannosaurus had a hard time seeing. His eyes were huge, but his brain and eye sockets hadn't fully developed yet. Tyrannosaurs could see only right in front of them. Maybe that's why they had such poor eyesight. Their vision was focused on nearby objects, which is typical for animals that are more interested in what's going on around them than in what's ahead. It's a sign of extreme short-sightedness. Adult dinosaurs had much better eyesight because their heads were straight and their orbits were well developed. Baby tyrannosaurs probably spent most of their time peeking around, not noticing the danger until it was too late. They were completely dependent on their parents, although it's hard to imagine now. But they were tiny, no bigger than a dog. Even when they grew up a bit, they were still quite clumsy. Now let's talk about feathers. As you can see from this fossil, Tyrannosaurus was covered in downy feathers that were soft and fluffy. No sharp claws, quills, or feathers on the arms, wings, or tail. Feathers are usually associated with warmth, but that's not the main reason why dinosaurs wore them. Of course, down helps regulate body temperature, but it also serves another purpose. Just look at any peacock. Its colorful tail feathers aren't needed for warmth, but they help attract females during mating season. In the case of Tyrannosaurus, researchers believe that feathers helped hide the smell. Yeah, dinosaurs stank. Modern birds stink too. They often spray their own poop on themselves. Is that how T-Rex smelled? No wonder they buried their faces in flowers. Speaking of smells, there's one more interesting fact. Turns out herbivorous dinosaurs preferred certain smells. Maybe that's why they munched on flowers. Paleontologists made a surprising discovery. Dinosaur poop contained traces of pollen and plant sap. This suggests that these creatures actively sought out flowering plants. Some scientists even suggest that dinosaurs chose plants with a specific aroma. Perhaps they wanted to mask their own smell, which could attract predators. In any case, dinosaurs weren't just eating machines like modern cows who eat whatever they come across. Tyrannosaurus wasn't the only baby dinosaur whose life was full of hardships. All baby dinosaurs were very vulnerable, and for many species, the first year of life was truly a survival test. This is evidenced by the pelvic bone of the same Triceratops found in Montana. Triceratops, like Tyrannosaurus, was a late bloomer, although not so much. Their growth rate slowed down significantly after the first year of life. This is clearly seen on the chart where the curve ends abruptly, indicating a period of slow development. The Triceratops pelvic bone indicates that the owner of this fossil was approximately 1 year old. That's how long this dino got along with its relatives. In general, the beginning of the Cretaceous period was characterized by rapid growth and development of dinosaurs. However, by the end of the period, everything changed dramatically. Dinosaurs began to grow more slowly. What happened? Scientists don't know. There are theories that climate change was to blame, and maybe that's what led to the extinction of dinosaurs. By the end of the Cretaceous, the Triceratops grew from a small plant-eating baby into a formidable horned beast. According to paleontologists, it weighed about 6 tons and had 3 horns on its head. However, during its lifetime, it experienced bouts of excruciating pain in its limbs. This conclusion was made after studying the traces left by ancient diseases. Bones bear scars of inflammation and osteomyelitis, a dangerous bone infection. Such suffering befell not only this Triceratops, but also other dinosaurs. And now we'll tell you about the Ankylosaurus, a dinosaur that's been on our list for a long time. Why? Because it was a walking pincushion. Scientists analyzed the growth rings on the bones of this prehistoric creature and found that its growth rate slowed significantly after the age of 10. You might think that this is normal, but no. The Ankylosaurus stopped growing altogether after reaching sexual maturity. Turns out that if you stop growing, you'll live longer. Life expectancy of the Ankylosaurus increased significantly. They lived up to 30 years. One day, a fossilized piece of skin from this dinosaur ended up in the hands of scientists. That's lucky, because skin rarely fossilizes. Under a microscope, the scientists discovered scales, each of which had a bunch of tiny spines that were embedded deep in the skin. Spines protruded from all parts of the body, including the tail. However, the strangest thing was that the skin of the Ankylosaurus was somehow connected to the bony plates covering its back. In short, it was a continuous armor. The skin was so tightly fused with the shell that it became part of it. But sometimes the spines came out of the skin, forming a thick undercoat. The scientists realized that the dinosaur was shedding its skin, although it's hard to imagine. If Ankylosaurus were alive today, it would be the most prickly animal in the world. And finally, what did our feathered friends actually do all day long? Archaeologists have found evidence that dinosaurs lounged around in social groups, just like modern birds. That is, they groomed each other and scratched their backs against trees. And they did all this in order to get rid of parasites. Dinosaurs weren't clean animals, but they tried to stay as clean as possible. Take a look at these scratches on the stones. They were left behind by dinosaurs who rubbed against them to remove parasites. The scratches are about 125 million years old. They were made by Ornithomimids, strange dinosaurs with long necks and 2 fingers on their hands. Oddly enough, they were very common, but practically unknown in the fossil record. Most of the bones of Ornithomimids decompose quickly, so they're almost never preserved. Only once in a while do scientists come across a nest of these creatures. In 2017, paleontologists unearthed an entire herd of ornithomimids in Mongolia. In short, these creatures spent their days scratching themselves against rocks, and their nights they spent sleeping in big groups, huddled together. But that's all they did. Ornithomimids only scratched themselves and slept, and yet dinosaurs managed to become the dominant species on the planet for over 180 million years. Now that's what I call efficiency.